multi-billion-dollar business. One of your compatriots said that he would happily, Mark Cuban, run for vice president with either candidate. What do you make of that?
Well, the idea that Mark would run for vice president is a great idea. He'd be a phenomenal vice president. He'd have my vote. The idea that he'd run with either candidate's a little odd. I'd rather see him run with Hillary because I think he'd be a perfect counter to Hillary. He's zesty. He's aggressive. He could take Donald Trump to task easily. He has more money than Donald Trump. That would bug the crap out of Donald, maybe even unsettle him in some way. But I can't imagine, the only one that Donald Trump would run with, obviously, is Donald Trump. So I couldn't imagine him making space.
If he has more than Donald, and Donald isn't worth $10 billion.
Well, people say that, you know, but cash is cash. What Mark has is cash. Can't argue with cash.
You came on this program after the real estate collapse. Where is it now?
Well, we've certainly recovered from the real estate collapse. We've regrouped all of the lost value, but we haven't gone that far past it. It just feels so good because of where we were.
Beverly Hills is great.
Beverly Hills is great. New York City is great. All the hot markets are great, but the values aren't that much higher than they were at the peak if
What do
you really
mean? I don't
examine
follow.
In other words, what we sold properties for in the premium areas of the country where you get the best money because everybody wants it, we haven't superseded those numbers that much, considering how many years has it been since the recession? I don't even know. I forget about it now.
How do I use your book? How can I learn from your book?
Well, what's great about my book is the book is much about my mother as it is about business, because my mother was simple-minded, but she raised 10 kids on a shoestring budget in a two-bedroom flat. And she was an extremely practical woman. If she had been in business, she would have been filthy rich, I'm convinced of. But instead, she was a devout Catholic and wanted to have a lot of kids. But in the book, I use everything my mother taught us in very simple terms to build my business, and I literally did that. So it's a book that people really relate to. They get it. I don't care who you are. It's told in parables.
You've lived off rejection, too.
Well, I know. I don't like rejection.
No, but it drives you.
Well, you know what? Yes, you're right about that. Because for some reason, if someone insults me, I will kill to prove them wrong. I don't know where, it's an insecurity, obviously. Probably something really went awry. But yes, that gets me going, no doubt.
Eugene Lederman wrote a book years ago called The Sale Begins When the Customer Says No.
Boy, isn't that true. I would agree. I should have written that book. I would have added, when the customer says no 3 or 4 times, you're getting warmed up, you know? But you know what, truthfully, every great thing that happened in my business that pushed me ahead, like a few years over my competition, was always after belly flop and just looking at the other side trying to, how do I save face? How the heck do I get out of this pickle? And that was always the big idea that pushed me ahead. So I don't think you can get the big idea without a lot of bumps, period.
We're going to play a little game of If You Only Knew. I just
No, I don't want to play with you. What do you think about that?
Who was your childhood celebrity crush?
We didn't have one. We weren't allowed to watch TV, period. Sorry. You sure you want to play this game?
Secret talent.
I'm a great party giver. From elephants to balloons to crazy freak shows to whatever. I'm a great party girl.
Guilty pleasure.
I buy a lot of flowers. I don't feel guilty. That's all I could think of.
If you could trade places with someone for a day, who would it be?
Julius Caesar, right before he went down. See, to hear that Buddhist speech, maybe? Who knows?
Business person you'd most like to guest judge on Shark Tank.
A guest judge? I'd like to have Whoopi Goldberg on Shark Tank. She'd be a hoot. Come on.
Something you're bad at.
I'm really bad. You want to know what I'm bad at? I'm not so good in bed. I wouldn't say really bad, but not so good.
You judge
I'm better
yourself?
at business. Of course I do. Who doesn't judge themselves?
You're better at business than you are in bed.
Oh, so much better.
So, but your husband is smiling all the time, right?
He is smiling. He's a happy man, yeah. He doesn't get it. He doesn't know what's out there.
What's the #1 thing that plagues most startups?
Falling in love with a business idea and not asking the mother-in-law who hates you, what do you think about it? Because people fall in love and then they get all their family and friends to say amazing, amazing, and they never ask them to write a check. Ask them to pay for the product and watch what happens.
Last time you were starstruck?
Oh, God. Mel Gibson on East 57th Street 20 years ago. And when I saw him, all I did was say, you, and grope for him until I grabbed him. It was so embarrassing, and all he did was gently push me aside and walk past, and then I died. How stupid was I?
Last time you cried?
You know, last time I cried was this morning, and I hardly ever cry because I'm moving my apartment. I woke up at 5 a.m. for some reason. The light was coming in, and I thought, what a wonderful home we've had here. And I didn't want to move, even though I thought I really wanted to move.
From where to where?
Just 2 blocks. I'm living on 94th Street. I'm moving to 97th Street, but I'm moving for a terrace. But this morning it didn't seem so important. I wished I could just stay where I was.
Did you do your own real estate deal?
I always do, yeah. In fact, it's not a good idea. You do your own real estate deal, you know what I've learned? You pay more, your emotion gets in the way. I overbid myself twice on this apartment I was buying. I went over 2 other buyers, including myself. If I had had a broker, I wouldn't have done this.
What's the characteristic most important to succeed in business?
Obstinance and the ability to get back up. No doubt about it.
Social media, Alfred Mole, LALA. How much money do the Sharks have combined?
Don't know that. I haven't done that math. I would say probably in the area of $4 billion.
Copella Marie, how do you find good mentors and investors?
By offering to do something for someone for free. I'm asked to be a mentor every day of the week. I never say yes. But if someone says, hey, can I do this for you and this for you? And I'm not even going to charge you, I always invite them in the office, and before you know it, they're working for me. You got to give before you get.
Oscar Musatev, how can an 18-year-old start a company for himself?
First of all, you have to know you're made for having a business, okay? Are you meant to be an entrepreneur? Can you sell? Can you push? How aggressive are you? Assuming that is all said, if you feel passionate about it and you don't have the money, you can convince somebody to give you the money. It's all about passion and communicating it and being able to sell the passion.
You have to like what you're doing, man.
You know, no one who builds a business likes it all the time. There are really terrible, terrible times. But you have to really be able to envision who you want to be and really believe you're going to get there, and that's what gets you through the bad times.
Are entrepreneurs born or made?
I personally think most of them are born, and most of them have come through something bad as a child and have something to prove. Most entrepreneurs are insecure. Most entrepreneurs work very hard because they're filling something else up. They're not always the most healthy people in the world, but they sure are extreme.
At Kiki Holloway, what advice would you have given yourself 10 years ago?
I would have told myself easily, don't be intimidated. I spent 2 years on Shark Tank being scared to death. What was I doing?
Really?
Absolutely. Most of the shots that you would see me in season 1 or 2, I looked like an executive secretary taking excellent notes. I spoke up, got mowed over, couldn't speak up loud enough, and was certainly uncertain about everything I did. And then somehow in season 3, I decided I didn't care enough to be nervous anymore, and I kind of came into my own. Yeah, you have to, so I don't think I answered your question. What was that question again?
The question was, what advice would you have given yourself 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah, let it go. As long as you're trying your best and you're being yourself, people are going to accept you.
There's something I'm going to ask you earlier, I'll ask you. Of the Sharks, who's the funniest?
Oh, Damon John. I would say 2/3 of what Damon John says on set gets edited out. It's owned by Disney. He is so funny.
Easiest to persuade?
Mark. He's got billions. You ask him for, hey, Mark, go in here with me, and you put up $500,000. It's like asking him for $2. He goes right in.
The one you turn to for advice?
Well, I use Mark to do all my math because I'm not good at math. I go, could you give me those numbers, Mark? They cut that out of the edit, which is great. But for actual advice, I would say Damon, because Damon is the most people-smart shark on the set. He has told me to go into, he has warned me on 2 deals. Now, I'll go in with you, Barb, but the guy, no, he's not who you think he is. That guy's no good, and he's been right every time. He's a great people judge.
The most high maintenance?
High maintenance shark? Robert, come on. We all come to Shark Tank with 1 outfit. Robert comes with 50 shirts, 50 cufflinks, 50 ties. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? He drives us all crazy. He's high maintenance.
Who's the life of the party? Gotta be you.
Believe it or not, Mr. Wonderful. Get Mr. Wonderful with a glass of wine in his hand, and you'll sit on his knee for 5 hours laughing like crazy at his stories.
Do you have other projects in the work?
Oh, God. I'm embarrassed to say no. All I do is work on Shark Tank and then work with my entrepreneurs when I'm not on Shark Tank, and of course raise my family and work on my marriage, which is a waste of time. I've been working so hard for so long, it's not any better.
The Corcoran Group, are you proud of them? Do you look at their ads in the papers? They get written up a lot. They're always in the real estate.
I'm not only proud of them, but I can cut that umbilical, whatever that cord is from your belly. Thank you. But it's really a little odd. So when I pass a shop and the flowers aren't fresh, I won't embarrass the manager and go in and say, why aren't your flowers fresh? But I'll have them replaced after hours because I can't stand the fact that everything's not perfect. I'm a perfectionist and I wanted everything to just continue exactly so.
And are there pitfalls to wealth?
There are a lot of pitfalls to wealth, but I'd rather be wealthy than poor because I've been in both places. The pitfalls to wealth is your friends are less genuine. You second-guess motives. It's harder to raise a great kid when you're wealthy than when you're not wealthy. It's harder to instill good values and not have a privileged child with attitude. It's harder to make new friends because the ones you truly trust are your old friends. Yeah, there are a lot of complications with wealth. It's not what it's cracked up to be. But again, I say I'd rather be wealthy.
Is inherited wealth tougher in a sense? In that
inherited wealth is terrible, and let me tell you why. My whole career, I worked with wealthy people, buying apartments in New York. I would say 3/4 of the people I worked with inherited the wealth. And there's something terrible about it because most of the people didn't feel like they deserved it or earned it. And if you think about the greatest satisfaction, anything we all do, is to feel like you've worked at something and gotten it yourself. And that's not allowed if you've inherited wealth.
It's a mistake to enable your children.
Well, I'll say it in theory, but what am I going to do with my 2 kids? One's 10, one's 22, all go in the right schools, etc. So I'm just like every other wealthy lady out there. I'm giving them everything they need. So you'll have to ask me a few years to see how they turn out. So far, so good, but not so easily done.
Thanks, Barbara. It's always great seeing you.
My pleasure, Larry.
Thanks to the delightful Barbara Corcoran, Shark Tales, How I Turned $1,000 into $1 billion is available now. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. And I'll see you next time.